This episode of the NAST podcast is sponsored by Seattle Restored. Seattle Restored is actually the reason why I'm in NAST Studios in the first place. They partner with local artists and entrepreneurs to create pop-up shops, artist installations, artist residencies, and community events. Visit seattlerestored.org for more info on locations and upcoming events. Are you ready to take your podcast to the next level? Then look no further than NAST Studios, located in Seattle's Pioneer Square. Hi, I'm Blake. I'm the owner, in-house producer, and editor. We've got 3 cameras to capture every moment and can host up to 8 mics, ensuring your podcast looks and sounds professional. We've got affordable pricing for podcasters at all levels. So what are you waiting for? Visit www.naststudios.com. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Today, I'm with another participant from the Seattle Restored program, another visual artist as well. It's my pleasure to have on Nahom Ghirmay. Hello, man.
Hey, Blake, how are you doing?
Good. What hair products do you use? We have similar hair textures.
I was gonna say that earlier. I use coconut oil for the most part.
Okay.
I think that's
Heck yeah, and I love your accent. So from my understanding, you're an immigrant, correct?
immigrant, yeah.
Okay, where are you originally from?
So I'm originally from Eritrea. I was born in
wow.
Asmara, Eritrea. That's where I was raised until I moved to Sudan.
Okay.
Yeah, and I lived in Sudan for 4 years. I was a refugee there, and I moved here November 2010. So it's been over 13 years. Yeah.
Dang. So how old are you?
I'm gonna be 30 this coming March.
Oh my gosh, black do not crack. You look like you're the same age as me. I'm 23.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh, you're looking great, man.
Nah,
okay, so
wait.
what was it like growing up in Eritrea?
Growing up in Eritrea was very fun childhood. It was very easy, very community based childhood. Like you have to kind of grow up with your neighborhood kids, like playing, making stuff, and it was a very free and very fun childhood. I would say.
Did you have like any siblings or anything?
Yeah, I had 2 siblings. I'm the oldest, and my younger brother is 1 year younger than me. So we were kind of friends. We were in the same grade.
Nice.
And we kind of had the same hobbies growing up. So we were kind of like doing the same thing.
Yeah. So does that mean they're into art as well?
My brother was into art. So growing up, we used to draw together, and we used to kind of draw cartoons, like Mickey Mouse, Tom and Jerry. I think Tom and Jerry was like more popular growing up. That was the cartoon that we used to watch. So we used to draw with my brother. And also in elementary school, we were kind of the kids who draw. So like people would bring up their projects, or if they have to draw like maps for geography, or like if they have some science project that involved drawing, it would either be me or my brother that would be.
Dang.
So that was
Nice. And then like, oh my bad.
Yeah, no, you're good. And my sister also draws, and not as a regular, but
Yeah, artistic at least.
Yeah.
Wait, so how many siblings is that all together? Just 2 or?
2 siblings.
Okay, nice. And then what were your parents doing?
So my mom was here. So my mom left Eritrea since I was like 2 years old. Maybe 3 years old. So I had a very vague memory of her, but she moved here. So I would grow up with my grandparents, and my aunt, and my dad was in Eritrea. He would visit because he was also in military, so you don't really get to see. We get to see him maybe a couple times a year.
Dang.
And but I do remember like he would get us like color pencils and stuff like that. Whenever he comes, he kind of was very supportive in a sense. Like giving the whole situation. I remember color pencil was like a very big deal
Yeah.
back then. Um, yeah,
Dang. So when you say your mom was here, like in Seattle or just in the U.S.?
she was in Seattle.
Oh wow.
She got here, I think, 1997. So
Okay.
she's been here, yeah, since, yeah.
Dang.
She was in Saudi before, then she moved here
Wow.
from Saudi, yeah.
Wait. So what brought her to Seattle then?
Seattle.
Yeah.
I kind of like a very common immigrant story. She moved to help her parents, her family, and us.
Mm-hmm.
So Eritrea got independent in 1991, and she was part of the group who fought to get the independence. So she was in military. So
Mm-hmm.
after that, once she had us, she had to find a way to support her family. So
Mm-hmm.
initially she moved to Saudi, and eventually from Saudi she got here,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it was kind of, yeah, a very like an immigrant story where
Yeah.
she had sacrificed her
Dang.
like like very young age, like
Mm.
to be a help for the family,
Did
basically.
Did you like understand what she was doing growing up though, or was it kind of confusing?
I would say it was yeah, you would be, I would be talking to her, but it was very kind of yeah, send me this, I want this, or like I need I didn't understand like the steps she had to go through until I became immigrant myself. I had to move to Sudan. Then I'm like, wow, it's
Yeah.
kind of like tough being. Then I moved here. Then like you have a different image of the United States and
Mm-hmm.
like the whole like Western
Yeah.
in Africa. Then you move here and like, wow, you had to like work so much, and like which we it was a different perception there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, once you moved here, you kind of yeah, I understood it, and I had even more respect, appreciation, and love
Got it.
um, for her after I got into to experience it myself. Yeah.
So what was that perspective that you like? What were the things you thought the U.S. was like, and then when you moved here, what were the differences or the same perspectives from that?
Before I moved, I had a very the only access we had to the um to like the picture in my head was like everything is perfect, like it was only through movies, and
Mm-hmm.
I thought everyone lived like the movies, right?
Yeah.
Like, which was not true. So you think,
Yeah. Yeah.
even like when I asked my mom to send us stuff or like to help us, I just thought like she was living you would a princess life, where we're
Mm-hmm.
just like you don't have to do anything or maybe little, and just
Mm-hmm.
um, get a lot of you're not aware of the whole struggle that people have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was a very narrow perspective that we got through media, through Hollywood and all the movies.
Dang. Yeah, that makes sense. So
Mm.
moving to Seattle, have you become closer with your mom or family or?
Yeah, I got closer for sure. We always talked, so I had
Mm-hmm.
understanding. But yeah, moving here, you start to see the real life here,
Mm-hmm.
and your view kind of shifts. Like, we're like, this is not like how people think it is back
Mm-hmm.
home. It's kind of the same actually. So, and I had the experience where people here have a very narrow perspective of like the like Africa or like my country, or like, so it was kind of the same. We had all the positive view of the United States, and people here has only the negative view of like
Yeah. Yeah.
Africa. So yeah, going to high school, I had people asking me, like, oh, so you know how to use a laptop or a computer, or you're like, I'm like, yeah, it's like it. So it was very interesting where I had like a very overestimated like everything here.
Yeah.
People had I think the opposite um view of it. But yeah, moving here, yeah, with my mom, I start to get to know her more, get
Mm-hmm.
to see how life is here, and how hard you have to work in order to. There is a lot of opportunities for sure,
Mhm.
that which I'm very grateful for, but you have to work hard in order to um, get them. It's yeah, it's a very like very grinding and very hustle kind of
Yeah.
environment. And yeah, I think every place has its kind of ups and it's good and bad too.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. So with that, so why'd you end up moving to Sudan?
So I ended up moving to Sudan because my mom was here,
Hmm.
and also so I want to move with her, but also the life in Eritrea where I had to go to military, like basically like once you get to high school age, like you're 12 years, at 12th grade, you would be in military, and that's something I didn't want to
Right.
get into. So I had to leave earlier before that, and that's kind of my personal reason. But I was also too young at that
Mm.
age, so my family also had a say on that decision where I had to move to Sudan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So like, did your siblings move with you to Sudan, or is it just like you on your own, or?
so it was me, my aunt, and my two siblings, and yeah, and we didn't have anyone in Sudan actually, so we
Dang.
just moved there, and it was kind of how I had the expectation of like life here. So even in Sudan, even though it's like a country next to my country, was very
Mhm.
different culture, very different life, which I never even imagined before moving there.
Mhm.
But yeah, we so I moved there. Um, I was almost 12 or 13 years old when I
Mhm.
moved there.
Dang. What about your grandparents? Did you get to see them still, or?
My grandfather, I didn't get to see them, and that's kind of something I feel like very unfortunate about. Like being an immigrant and living in a country. There's a lot of positive thing where you get to experience different cultures, different uh, basically different life, almost like in every country you go through. That's something I wouldn't have had if I wasn't. But on the other side, I think that those moments that you're supposed to spend with your grandparents,
Yeah.
with your family, with your cousins, that's something I missed. Like, and my
Yeah.
grandfather died right after I got here, right?
Mhm.
So I was in Sudan for about 4 years. I also had to travel through Central and South America. So it took me about like 9 to up to a year to get here. So
Dang.
along the way, he was actually he passed away when I was in those journey,
Mhm.
but they didn't tell me because I was like it was in a good place um, for me to know.
Mhm.
Then after I got here, I got the bad news, and he was a father, and kind of he was like the main figure growing up, so it
Right.
was very tough. And but it's kind of very similar to a lot of, I think, the people have to um, immigrate to other places. There is a lot of moments of life that you have to miss, and
Right.
people close to you that you, yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, man, that definitely changes your perspective on the world versus certain people. Like for me, even like I've been able to like go to New York and tour and stuff, but
Yeah.
my whole life rests in Seattle, so
Mhm.
I can't even fathom what that must be like. So why did it take so long to travel to the U.S.? It said it took almost a year.
Yeah.
So how did that break that down for me?
So mine was a very kind of unconventional journey.
Hmm.
So when my mom got here, she didn't have she had her green card, but it took her a while to get her
Hmm.
citizenship. And that's something people are not aware of too. The whole process of like trying to get your paper and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So she was working. She was able to work and live here, but she wasn't able to get us out of. So once we moved to Sudan, we thought everything's gonna be smooth, and we didn't even think that I didn't even think that we were gonna be there for 4 years. We
Yeah.
just thought it's just gonna be like probably like 6 months at the longest. But then we realized like it was taking forever, and our life was kind of like we were kind of like waiting in limbo, where like you can't really you're kind of like on a just waiting, and just like and years are going by. I was going to school, but it was kind of very kind of a refuge lifestyle where you're just waiting for your next home, or
Yeah.
like I just want to be somewhere where I just can focus on something else beside like where my next home is. Then yeah, but she unfortunately didn't like, it was a lot of hassle like, and we didn't get fortunate enough for the paper thing to work,
Mm.
and stuff in Sudan was getting a bit challenging. There was um, uh, the life was, like there was a lot of things happening, and she wanted us here to get to school and continue with our life.
Yeah.
So I had to go to Dubai and make my way to Ecuador. It was
Dang.
that was a very complicated way, but I got to Ecuador, and I went to Colombia. Basically, I had to yeah, from Ecuador you have to find a way like where you get sometimes it would be through bus, sometimes it would be through some taxis would get you, but there are links basically then from Ecuador to Colombia, from Colombia to Panama.
Mm.
So I had to walk like for 7 days
What?
from Colombia to Panama, yeah, through the Amazon jungle.
What?
Yeah, it was
Oh my
crazy.
God.
Yeah, but there was like many part into it that kind of contributes to my view of life as an artist now, which
Yeah.
at that time I didn't even think that was um, real, or like, is this like real? Is this like, am I like, why am I doing this? Like,
Yeah.
well, I was also too young at that point. I was very naive, so um, it didn't. I didn't process and reflect all my journey until I got here and sat in like, okay, what was happening those past 5 6 years, right? Like,
Dang.
um, but yeah, eventually I got here,
Yeah.
which it took, yeah.
Were you able to like? Was your aunt and siblings with you this entire time, or did you ever have to like split up or anything? Or
So you had to split up, and that's another thing too, because the journey is not conventional. You don't
yeah.
want to have to go with your close ones, with your siblings, because there is a chance of you not making it. That's something you have to put
Dang.
on a kind of like on your bike of a head, and the family also don't want to lose too. So usually you have to go one person at a time. So my brother uh, took the journey first, and after I took the journey, so it's just me and the different people from everywhere that I met along the journey. There were people from Cuba, there were people from Nigeria, there were people from Nepal
Dang.
along the journey. So it's like, yeah, it
Wait.
was a lot of people.
Wait. So how old were you when you were doing this? Like
I
that
was
trek?
I was 16, like 15 going to 16. I
Oh
think
my
when I got here,
gosh.
I was 17 when I got here. So
What
I
the
was
heck?
16, yeah.
I was just complaining about like high school when I was 16 and like trying to
Yeah.
do sport. What the heck? Okay. So did you have to like, how'd you get from place to place there? Like, did you have, obviously you took like buses or taxis or walked, but like, did you have to like make money during this time to like afford to travel this far? Or, and did you like, were there specific people that would help you along your journey that you already knew were going to help you? Or did you just have to like find someone who would randomly decide to help you?
So fortunately for me, I had my mom here, so she was able to support me. I just have to do the physical,
Yeah.
thing there, and just also be just mindful and just like know my way, and also the art of knowing how to live with different people at different place and just stuff
Mm.
like that. So in that aspect, I was kind of fortunate enough where I didn't have to worry or kind of a lot about. But there were people I remember in Colombia. There was this guy who got stuck there for 5 years because he had the journey, like he didn't.
Yeah.
have the means to get out. So he had to work there for 5 years, and he became fluent in Spanish.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
think he had almost had a life there, which was crazy.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. What the heck?
and that was like someone probably didn't even phantom the idea of like that his life was
Oh,
part of his
wow.
life is going to be in Colombia.
That is crazy. Okay,
Mm.
so then the point is you get to this place and then you just cross a border, or like what makes people not be able to actually get to the US? Is it like it's just a money thing, or can you get to the border and someone just decides they don't like what makes a journey not be able to be finished basically?
So there is a lot of cases. So
Hmm.
there is one is like financially you might not be able to get out, so you
Hmm.
might get stuck. And for some people, I know like there were some people who got stuck in Brazil or where they almost had started a life, so they would get someone and start a family, have baby,
Learn
and then
Spanish.
learn Spanish and have baby, and just like I don't know, at some point they might leave, but also there is also different rules, right? Rules change or laws change
Mm,
throughout the time. So when I was going through stuff, it was very easy. You just even in Panama, you would go to the like immigration center, and you tell them like, oh, I'm from this, and this is me, this is my story, and they know. So the way is not very like known here,
mm,
but it's there. Over there people know that there is people who use that route to
got it.
get here. But I think it's also it depends um, on the individual. People would have maybe different
Mm.
stories than mine.
So like why couldn't someone just go from Eritrea to the US or Sudan to the US?
I think that's kind of it's not easy. I think that's some kind of misunderstanding a lot of people have here. It's a privilege to
Hmm.
have a U.S. passport, and for someone to get to anywhere without being asked, you don't even realize it. Because you're that's kind of a grunt commenting here. But yeah, in a lot of places, it's kind of hard for people to um, because you're of your citizen, right? Because of your identity, there is a limit like where you can go because of the paper or like whatever
Hmm.
identity you own. And that's something as an artist, that's something I always feel like, because I also had to leave Eritrea at a very young age.
Hmm.
So a lot of those decisions weren't even mine, right? Like there was also like part of it was also made by my family. So for me, it was kind of a very, at first, very confusing state of like, I just want to be somewhere where I can, um, I just want to stay with my friends. I don't want to leave my friends. I don't want to
Right.
leave this place every time. And um, uh, every time that I kind of adjust and adapt, like, I just want to have a normal kind of childhood, right?
Yeah, man.
So
Dang.
for me, it didn't make sense too, right? Like, why
Got
do
it.
I have to go like, especially along the way, like there were time where you have to sit and contemplate, like, what
Mm.
am I doing? Like, why am I here? Why am I in the jungle? Like, I remember like in the Amazon at the forest. One day, I don't know, it started raining and it was around, and we were supposed to go, but basically the river filled, so we weren't able to pass.
Mm.
And you don't know like whether you're gonna make it out. And they had, I don't know, kind of like a very um I had a lot of time to think, and just it was just crazy. Like why am I, here? Like why do we do the stuff we do to get to one place? And there's a lot of reasons you get to understand it here, but over there it just made me think of like um yes, it's like it was a very confusing state. Like you also don't have kind of like for me the sense of home was also very
Mm.
blurry. Like every place you go, there's part of you that you would bring, but you also have to leave a lot of it and adjust. But I think to answer your question about why people would make those um, would take those routes is
Mm-hmm.
like because there is no it's kind of like hard not to. For me, in my case, my family, part of my mom was here, so that was a big reason. But for a lot of people, it would be for some it would be financial reason. For some, it would be political reason. There's also like a lot of stuff happening in the world, which is also in my country. That was the military and the political aspect of it is also part of it, which is also influenced um, by the global power, right? By
Mm.
the and you don't realize it at that point. You're just like, you just, especially me being young, like it was confusing, but it was also an adventure because I was young. I was at some extent I was also like, okay, this is just a trip. So
Yeah.
there was moments to where I just took it like um as an adventure.
Yeah.
And being young also helped to just pick up stuff really quick wherever I go. It's easily to blend in and kind of learn the culture.
So even though it was like a long journey, do you feel like, and you were young, do you think you were sheltered from some of the negative things that may have been happening around you?
Um, you mean like when I was on
Like the journey,
along
like
the
did you,
journey?
yeah, like did you understand there's political things happening? Were there any like bad people around the along your route that didn't want to help you guys? Like, or was it pretty, even though it was a long trip, was it pretty,
The-
do you remember it in a positive light, or do you remember any like negative things happening along the way?
It was a mix of both. So
Mm.
there was a lot of kind people. For me, as an person who have been to a lot of places, a lot of countries, something I've learned is like a lot of people are good.
Mm.
Like I'm not gonna discount or like there are bad things, there are bad people, but for the most part, I kind of focus on like there were people when I was in Colombia, for example, there was this family. It was very like they don't know me. I didn't even speak that language beside like very basic things, and they hosted me. I was there. I was running on money, so basically I was waiting for some support from my mom. So I
Mm.
had to stay behind the people that I was going through. So I was just left by myself there, right? It
Dang.
was in Turbo, Colombia, which is like a border.
Mm.
And the family didn't have anything. They were very kind of, very less fortunate people, but they were very kind. Like this, I remember this woman, she had like her three kids sleep in one bed, and she gave me like the whole bed, and
Dang.
she gave me like there was like a mosquito net that um she gave me the good one, and she had she was using the one with a hole on it.
Mm.
And and for me it was kind of hard because like I don't want to, this feels like a lot of but you also the language was also bare. I can say very little just to communicate with them. So they were like very nice people, very kind. It's similar in Sudan.
Mm.
They were like very Sudanese in general, like very kind, very supportive. But at the same time, you also get to experience the opposite side, where even if it's not, it wasn't as common. For example, when I was coming, so when I was moving from Colombia to Panama,
Mm.
the people were supposed to guide us, left us like they went with us like for 2 days, and they told us like they're gonna cook us some food and just went back,
What the
right?
heck?
So
Yeah.
so we were stuck. So we had to figure our way out of the forest or the jungle, right?
That's crazy.
So yeah, there were like so many crazy stuff like that happened too. Like you would get into somewhere, and now that it's been a long time and I didn't write it, like I'm kind of start to forget
Mm.
the details. But overall, like luckily, I think with the grace of God, I think also like I feel like I was protected. Like, and I
Mm.
didn't realize the danger that could have occurred until I got here. Then you start to kind of put everything together. And I'm like, how did I like? There was a lot of things could have gone wrong, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't realize it until I got here. I'm like, wow, I'm very, fortunate because I was naive in a sense that I wasn't even. I think sometimes not knowing also gives you that freedom. Like I
Yes.
wasn't really anxious. Like wherever I go, even in trouble, even in places that people might have would think like, oh, I need to watch out myself here,
Yeah.
stuff like that. I didn't have that mindset.
It's the ignorance is bliss.
It's a bliss in
Yeah.
some sense, yeah.
Wow. So what was your first day like when you got into the US? Did you immediately like hop on a plane or bus or something to Seattle, or was there a city that you were in first before you came to Seattle?
So yeah, so I had to. So once I got to the border of the U.S., I asked for an asylum, right? So I was I had you had to go through the asylum case process. So I was in a camp because I was an underage. So they put me in
Mm.
this program where it was in El Paso, Texas,
Oh dang.
and yeah, it was kids from everywhere, from Central. I was only African, and it was during it was in 2010. So
Mm.
the World Cup was happening in South Africa.
Yeah.
So everyone thought Africa was just a country, right? Even when I was coming along the way in Latin America, people would just ask me, "Are you? Did you understand? Or like, are you from South Africa? Or like, South Africa is like South Africa in Latin." And at first I would explain to them, but at some point it just I'm like, I just tell them, yeah, I'm from South Africa. I'm just gonna. It's a lot
Oh
of
my
things to
gosh.
explain, and people didn't understand them. Like there are like 54 countries or 55 now, I think, in Africa. But also I think the World Cup, the whole thing, because people
Mm.
get to see Africa in a very positive light during that time when the World Cup was taken in South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
I also got the positive thing from it, like, oh, like uh people, you guys are like this or something like
Yeah.
that people saw from that, right?
Yeah.
So um so I was in El Paso. Yeah, I was the only African, and there were kids from like South and Central America. So
Mm.
I was there for 3 months. I learned Spanish there. It was very, and I had to do art there. So my roommate there was an artist too from Mexico,
Mm.
and yeah, and art was kind of like the therapeutic kind of activity that I had along the journey, and yeah, then after 3 months in El Paso, my mom came and picked me up from
Mm.
El Paso, and I moved here.
Dang. So why do you think that people not from Africa have this weird perception of what Africa is as a whole?
Um, I think there could be a lot of reasons, but I feel like the media has a lot um,
Mm.
contribution into that view because at least now, luckily, that there is like different platforms like this YouTube, and there is like all the social media that people are not there is no the filtered information that's given out to people
Right.
versus before it was just like everything you hear about Africa, it's gonna be about war or about famine or
Mm-hmm.
about it's like those things occur, but it's like it's not the only thing.
Right.
Or
Right.
like it's very narrow. But it's also the same perception I have about the US too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know about the homelessness. I would never have imagined that there
Yeah.
would be a homeless or a hungry person in the US. That was shocking when I moved here,
Mm.
right? Because also the media did the same thing, like the way the stuff that fed us in Africa or that portray us was the the very kind of highlight of like the
Mm.
celebrity life of in here.
Yeah.
And for people here, the stuff that they showed about Africa was all the war and all the um, negative stuff, and it's lack of exposure, right? I don't
Yeah.
blame people. Even for me, I don't blame people for being ignorant because, like, if you don't have exposure, how I don't expect you to know, uh, much about stuff, or like your view probably are gonna shape by that. So to some extent, I kind of feel understanding about why people would have this like certain assumption, even when I was in high school and stuff. Later, I find out like, yeah, I think if I didn't come here, I would also have that view of like very um, um, unrealistic view of the
Right.
Western.
I wonder who someone must benefit from portraying a certain country in a negative light, right? Like maybe somehow the news benefits from saying that Africa is literally just famine and war, or I don't know, because it seems weird that to show America just in a positive light, Africa in a negative light. There's probably other continents and countries that have received the same treatment, but I'm just here in Seattle, so I have no idea what there is to gain from that. I could only speculate, but
Mm. No, no, I agree with you. I think that's, yeah, there's people who benefit from it, and it's more complex than probably to know everything, but
mm-hmm.
there are people who benefit from it, and there is it takes the humanity out of it, right? Like,
Yeah,
because there are like humans everywhere, and that's something for me, like I told you, in Colombia, I don't know this family, right?
mm-hmm.
When I was in Sudan, there were people who were supporting us, and it takes the aspect of like basically puts a whole continent or whole country or a whole tribe in just one bucket, and
Mm-hmm.
tells you like those people are this, and you would think like everyone, yeah, it's a level, basically it's like
Mm-hmm.
leveling certain group of people with certain image, which is like so unfortunate. And I feel, I don't know, it's kind of very sad that you don't, that's a basic human right, you should know, but like
Yeah,
you shouldn't be, I don't know, that shouldn't be taken from you. Like you should have, I don't know, very the true view of the world,
yeah, knowledge.
the knowledge, the true
Yes,
view. So it's kind of something that's unfortunately kind of persuaded by the media or the people who are in the power.
for sure.
Um, but now I think with like social media and stuff, you also have to some extent, if you have an
Mm-hmm.
internet access, you have the responsibility to know and dig your information to some extent. Yeah.
For sure. So, what high school did you go to when you moved to Seattle?
So I went to Garfield High School.
Okay.
Went to Garfield High School. So I start sophomore year. I was behind on my years, but I didn't have my transcript and stuff. So I was 17 when I was in sophomore.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then
I was behind.
what was that like? Where you said that people like kind of stereotyped who you were, but did you feel like you were able to build bonds with people in high school? Because I'm pretty sure there is a decent sized group of Eritreans in the Seattle area. I know I definitely have friends that are Eritrean as well.
Yeah. Seattle is, yeah, very there's a lot of, there is a big Eritrean community,
Mm.
Ethiopian, there is a lot of immigrants. Um yeah, I feel like I my life was kind of as an immigrant everywhere I go. So it wasn't a new thing
Hmm.
to live somewhere and to learn a new way of life. So
Yeah.
that was something that I learned before even, you know, like my whole journey was about that. So it was, I didn't feel like something was shocking or something.
Hmm.
In contrary, it was actually, there was a lot of good things, there was like, it's a lot of things, life was easier, right?
Hmm.
In comparison. And um but yeah, but there was a point, I don't know, like the expectation when you go to
Yeah.
high school, right? Like, because I came through this journey, I was in Sudan and it was a lot of stuff, but you're kind of expected um to fit into certain like a high school student idea of like someone like
Mm.
like you were born here, right? Like
Yeah.
I had to like, so it was kind of, I had to, there is no there was, and that's kind of uh I don't know, that's life. But yeah, there was like part of me like, it's like, wow, like I just have to ignore everything basically, and now just try to be because you're kind of competing with students and like learning from here. So I think, yeah, like the story of like someone, the story of like me was kind of like not in the picture
Mm-hmm.
when I was going to school. It was just like if you're in English class or if you're in science class, um, the context doesn't matter, right? Whether you came from somewhere or whether you even here, people have come. There are people who came from a different
Yeah.
types of family,
Mm-hmm.
so that context is not there, and it's just you're just expected by there is like I don't know, the standard or measurement is very set to certain
Right.
type of view or image, and so there was that I felt like okay, but I have also had the understanding of like okay, like I say, like I at that point I also start to process a lot of stuff, and like okay, there is reason why certain um view or form or why certain stuff happen. But I was also fortunate like to be in Seattle too. Like you said, there was a lot of especially Garfield, I think the most diverse
Mm-hmm.
high school. So I could see a lot of people like me. There was a lot of immigrants, and the teachers were very kind, right?
Nice.
Like my art teacher was kind of like a mentor to me at that point. So I kind of felt very accepted, and um, um, yeah. So I was fortunate in that sense where um, I think in general also I loved when I moved here. There were so many things that I love about Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just being able to go. I was in downtown, so I would go to Cal Anderson, play
Yeah.
soccer.
Yeah.
I would meet a lot of Mexicans, Somalians there, so we'd play soccer, then go to high school. So it was very positive first exposure or first impression.
Nice. And I guess because you have family here, do you plan on staying in Seattle for the rest of your life, or do you want to move or travel, or what is your?
My goal.
Yeah.
I kind of take it like I don't know, 1 year at a time.
Yeah.
I'm good now. Like I try to I don't know. I'm kind of like a nomad. I might hurt. I love adventure and like seeing stuff. So I don't like dreaming or kind of picturing my life in just one place.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, I think Seattle is perfect. I'm
Nice.
doing um yeah, in the near future at least. Yeah,
Yeah. So like, all your siblings ended up being able to come to Seattle, right?
yeah.
And with that, did you guys all have similar stories, or were your guys' stories pretty different compared to how you ended up here?
It's different because it's kind of a long. There is a lot. It's a long journey,
Mm-hmm.
so it takes. You might overlap in some aspect. We are in Sudan together, so that aspect of us would be similar,
Mm-hmm.
even though not in the individual level, but um, there would be a lot of common stuff that you would share. And my sister got here, so after I got here after a year, my mom got a citizenship, right? Which was like, so we waited this whole time. I got here after a year, she gets her citizenship. So my younger sister was able to get here directly, so she didn't have to go
No
through
Amazon
the whole
jungle.
journey, not the whole journey.
Dang.
So she got lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wow, that's wild. So with that, like, you went through high school and guessing you graduated high school and all that.
Mm.
Like, what did you do to start like planning roots in Seattle? Did you, what type of jobs did you have? Was art always like something through high school that you wanted to turn into a career, etc.?
Yeah. So art was very kind of like my my heaven space. I think I don't know, it kind of provided me. So in high school, I start taking the basic like the elementary art
Mm.
or intro into. So I start taking drawing in class. And when I go home, that's all I do. I would draw and
Nice.
just it just made me happy and kind of took me also like we didn't have a lot of now that I think about it, not at that time, but at this point it was very therapeutic
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't have access to those um like to therapy or stuff like that, right? And coming through a lot of those stuff, I think that was unintentionally my kind of therapy in a sense, where I kind of get to be myself and just, you have the freedom to create whatever you want and be whatever you want,
Yeah.
because just like a white canvas or a white paper, and you get to, yeah, it was very freeing.
Mm-hmm.
And in high school, I was very, I felt like this is my identity now. Like I am just gonna draw, and so yeah, I would just wait for the art class, and after school, I would stay to finish some stuff, in my art class. Then I took, after the elementary, I took advanced class. Then I took AP art. Then
Dang.
I took another AP. So almost, I think, almost for more than 2 years, I always had an art class in my schedule. Um, and I get to participate in the school. So I was part of the like school's newspaper. I was one of the illustrators, and I won a competition representing the school. There was, I think it was a congressional art competition that was happening like among all the high schools in the state, and I won it. So my school won it, and I get to White House, like Capitol building. So
Oh, dang.
I get to take my mom. Yeah, we get a ticket. So I got to take my mom and me. That was, I think, junior or sophomore in high school, and I had my art hanging in the Capitol building for a year. So that was very motivating, and I kind of feel like I'm kind of contributing to the school, right? Like, so it felt like not just fitting in, but you also feel like that you had a value. You're contributing to
Yeah.
that, and
You're like part of a community.
part of a
Yeah.
community, and like I said, the teachers were very. I had so many teachers that were very accepting and very helpful. Like, yeah, my art teacher, Mr. Hangate, Miss Hangate, she would, yeah, she was very nice. She would give me an easel. I remember, like, someone she knew was getting rid of their easel. She's like, "Oh, there's Nahom." So she would call me in, and she also offered me. I remember, yeah, like if you want to visit school, let me know. Like if you want to visit art college and stuff, and if you need any support. So yeah, there was a lot of feeling of like supported, but you're also contributing through art.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but in high school I was mainly focused in art, and I want to go study art after high school. That was my plan. So I was building a portfolio, and um, but I was also doing good. Like in math and physics was like my second favorite subjects. Then I graduated high school 2014. Then I was looking to college like Cornish. I went to Chicago Art Institute. There was like multiple out of state colleges too. But then there comes the being naive or being an immigrant. You like so many informations, right? So when I was in high school, because I didn't grow up in the system, there was a lot of. It took me almost a year to get to my counselor in high school. I didn't know there was like a counselor that would
Dang.
support me.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff that I didn't know, and that was something about art. So I didn't know about the financial aspect of it, right? I didn't know that you have to pay a lot of tuition.
Oh, for college.
So
Yeah.
for college,
Yeah.
especially art colleges are so
Yeah.
expensive, way expensive than
For sure.
regular college, right? So I was like, so I, in my head, like in high school, I kind of 100% was assured that that's something I want to do. Then once I start to look into the tuition, the financial part of it, I'm like, this is insane. There is no way I can afford this, right? And there was some like scholarship offers, like the percentage, but even with that, it was a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah.
for me at that point, I waiting on my asylum case, so I didn't even have my green card, or so I was partially undocumented almost. I
Mm.
had my asylum, I had my um, work permit, but and I was working at Subway, by the way. Yeah,
Mm.
I think he asked about the through high school. I was working at Subway,
Yeah.
but I didn't had my permanent resident paper, so I wasn't qualified to get any federal financial aid,
Mm.
like FAFSA or something. So during that summer after high school, I had to, kind of replan, come up with another plan because art is not gonna be affordable. Like I won't be able to afford it. So I was like, okay, now that I have this, and I'm gonna do it either way, because for me, art was like very democratic, where like I can do it, like it might be certain way, but
Yeah, yeah.
like it's not, I'm not limited. There's no hidden formula that I'm missing, or and there's YouTube too. There is Instagram. There are so many artists that give it away,
Mm-hmm.
which I feel like very. I kind of feel weird saying that self-taught artist.
Hmm.
I feel like I didn't have the formal education, but self-taught is very far stretch. Like I learned from a lot of people
Yeah, yeah.
that were given it for free, so it doesn't make just because you pay for it doesn't make you like
Yeah.
not self-taught versa. So yeah, so I was kind of blessed in that sense where I had so many community in like Facebook, Instagram. I was
Mm.
always following artists, asking people about like um, stuff, just got curious about. There was so many informations, access into a lot of um, uh, like artistic um, people with interest in art.
Mm.
But yeah, so after high school, I start taking classes in Seattle Central Community College. So I just uh, so because I took art out of the equation, this is not gonna be affordable. So I start taking maths and physics and those classes without work. Kind of, I was also interested in high school.
Mm. Dang.
So I ended up. I was also taking art school in Seattle Central Community College, and I was using. I also like. Oh, I forgot her name. So the Seattle art, my art college there was also very close. Like she told me, like after I took one class or two, she's like, you can come here, use the studio anytime. Like you don't have to pay for the class. You can just come here and paint.
Yeah.
Like okay, wow, now I got a free studio. It was a big, huge studio,
Yeah. Dope.
and so I would finish my math and physics classes and go to the art,
Mm.
paint, go to my subway job work. So that was pretty much 3 4 years after high school was that the routine where I go to class,
Yeah.
take math and physics, go to the studio, work on something, then go to my subway job, um, make sandwich. I was a sandwich artist, so there was the artist part there too.
Yeah.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Oh
So
my gosh.
yeah, then eventually I transferred to UW.
Mm.
I studied mechanical engineering.
Okay.
So in college, I didn't even know a lot about engineering. I just knew like I liked physics
Mm.
because my whole purpose in high school was just like I'm sure that that's the only art is the only thing I would do. But so once I start taking physics classes, my physics teacher, Mr. Rayner in Seattle Central, he was very helpful. Like he told me like like you're good at this. I think you should. So I was considering should I just study physics because I liked physics.
Mm.
He told me I think you should do mechanical engineering because it's gonna be applicable. Like if you wanna, it's gonna be physics but applied into something. Then I start looking into engineering. I'm like, okay, I thought there was just an engineer, but there's like so many branches of it.
Right.
I just learned at that moment,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. Then I went to YouTube and learned about all those types of engineers. And yeah, I picked mechanical, and I was debating should I do electrical or mechanical.
Mm.
They're kind of both physics heavy um, classes, but I ended up going for mechanical. So I actually applied for both mechanical and electrical into when I was going to UW.
Mm.
I got accepted to both, but I picked
Oh, dang.
mechanical. Yeah. So I picked mechanical. I studied mechanical engineering, but I was always doing art during that whole time.
Mhm.
Um, and also participate. So even Seattle Central, and when I transferred to UW, I was also looking for those art opportunities
Mhm.
where there would be like a group art show or any kind of like platform that would allow me to showcase my work. I would always, yeah, kind of participate. In Seattle Central, there was some competition that I won representing the school. Um, I
Nice.
also got some scholarships, money like that. Was kind of funding my education because
Yeah.
during the 2 years in community college, I didn't have my paper, so I also had to support myself,
Mhm.
pay the tuition. So that helped me to get money. Like there was some art
Hell yeah.
scholarships that I was getting.
So art's always been there for you.
Art always been there for me.
Dang. So are you a mechanical engineer then? Like, did you do that as like a profession at all, or?
So I studied mechanical engineering, but like I said, I didn't have the reason I studied it was I was curious. I was
Yeah.
very into like I loved the subject physics. So I enjoyed the school of like learning physics and chemistry. So I got a job as a consultant, a tech consultant for a couple of years. And I realized it wasn't for me, right? Like
Mhm.
I was always doing art. I had a studio and it was always not to, that was part of me. But I felt like I was kind of being not honest with myself. So,
Mhm.
and for a couple years or more than a couple years while I was working, I was debating, like I was reflecting. I also spent a lot of time, and there was also the status that goes with it. Like so to live that, I think it takes a lot of um, strength, and also you have to be mentally um, kind of assured because there's gonna be comments or like opinions that would people would give you, but like oh so, but this, but that, but so you
Right.
have to be sure that this is. So eventually, I kind of ventured out, and you know, like um, yeah, there's aspect of that. By the way, the like my engineering and also the part of the job I did that I
Mhm.
still that I feel still would be applicable, like
Right.
in certain way. But right now I'm fully in like trying to make that full time, and I'm trying to be like fully
Yeah.
invested in that. So
So like, how are you? What is that like right now? Like, if there was like a percentage of like how much are you able to like live off art versus having another job? Like, how does that break down in your life basically?
right now I'm doing I I would be I would say like I would put like about 4 hours a day, and that sometimes it would be applying for opportunities
Mhm.
or actually doing stuff or just sketching or coming up with the ideas, or 5 hours a day. It depends. But I also do ride share, so I
Mhm.
work and that I have that flexibility. So I try to use my the time where I have my energy to spend it in art, and when I'm like whenever I go, because it doesn't take a lot of mental energy, I can just drive.
Yeah.
So that's quite kind of it's very flexible in that sense. So I haven't been able to figure it out to make a full living out of it,
Mhm.
but it's kind of been working.
Hell
I
yeah.
feel like blessed to like the Seattle Restore program, right?
Yes.
Like having that space, um, being able to so we there are like two other artists who I share the space with, and being able to get those accesses right in those spaces. In like I had a show in Tazwira
Yeah.
Gallery. I'm part of Gallery 110 in Pioneer Square. There's Ghost Gallery in downtown, and there was a public art program that was sponsored by the Seattle um, city that I was a part of. So I had to also dub in public art.
Nice.
So there are like opportunities out there, and I feel like very assured that this is gonna work. But it's just a journey now. For now, I'm like
Yeah.
trying to find those opportunities um and live. Yeah.
For sure. So break down, like explain to the audience how you learned about Seattle Restored and what opportunity they've given you.
So I've learned about Seattle Restore. I think it was through Instagram, because I have a huge now. I have a huge. I feel like a huge community in my social medias
Mhm.
that I've been following for years,
Yeah.
and it kind of feels like very natural now that you would hear something about stuff. So that's how I found out about Seattle Restore. Then I applied, and so I was part of the Shumpai program for about the past 4 or 5 years. So I had like one of the storefront art display or
Mhm.
public art program. I was part of that, and there was I think the art director Martin, when he was running.
Yeah, Martin's been on the show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you have to check
Okay,
out that
that's
interview.
cool. I will check it out. He's an amazing guy. He was one of the person who bought my work years back when I was
Nice.
part of. Yeah, he was very supportive. So yeah, like Shumpike was a great program.
Yeah.
I've been there for multiple events, like or multiple opportunities. And Seattle Restore was as kind of a continue of that. So I heard about this opportunity, and I applied. And yeah, I got the space, and it's been like I've been there since I think late August of last year.
Nice.
And
So what is that? Are you like, so some, like I just had Yolanda Gallery on, and her part of Seattle Restored is that she gets like a window display, but you're a participant who's actually in a studio, right?
yeah.
So how does that work? Like, do you share that space with people, or is it your own get like studio? Like, are you able to say this is Nahom's studio, or how does that work?
So the space is, yeah, I share it with other two artists,
Okay.
Shruti and Jay, and it's an interactive studio. So basically, it's like an open studio where people can come and interact while they paint or ask you questions. We also have events there, like an
Nice.
art event. So they provided a lot of stuff that we can do with it. You know, if you wanna have any kind of events, you can also have those events. It's a really cool, huge space. So there is a lot of activities or events you can do, but mostly it's like an open studio, like an interactive studio space.
Nice. And how often are you there?
I'm there almost every day. I would say like almost 5 days a week.
Nice.
Depending on the time. Sometimes I would be there until 2 in the morning.
Dang.
At night, sometimes I would be there during the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. So is this a space that's going to be like a long-term thing, or are you there only for a certain amount of months, or how does that work?
So I'm gonna be there until the end of March, and yeah, this program is the space we are at least for now is going up till until the end of March, and then we will see what other opportunities that I'm also actively applying for.
Got it.
Other like programs, residencies, and public art programs. So hopefully, whatever I work from here is gonna be used to get me into other opportunities.
Yeah, hell yeah, I believe in you.
Yeah,
You've been a
thank you,
great
appreciate it.
guest, man. I love your story. That's very inspiring.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah, that's
appreciate it.
wow. Your perspective on things must be just very like I said, I go on tour, but I'm here to stay in Seattle. I literally have like this. I have a Seattle skyline tattoo on my leg. Like I'm born and raised in Seattle, but to talk to people who have different perspectives and just different worldviews that's inspiring to me. So thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you,
With
appreciate it.
that, what is some advice that you have for up and coming artists, creators, influencers?
I'm still learning. I don't know about advice. I would love to get advice from people.
Yeah.
But I think staying authentic to yourself, especially as an artist, is very important. Especially nowadays that there is so much noise with social media and trying to follow a trend. And that's kind of, it takes a lot of practice and awareness, but staying authentic to yourself, to your story, and yeah, like to your, to your inner child.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the series I'm working right now. It's called Inner Child, or Healing the Inner Child. So I think, yeah, it's like staying authentic,
Yeah.
staying true, and stuff will work out. I mean,
Yeah.
and yeah, being kind too. I think being kind and understanding to fellow human, because for me as an artist, like people like you, Blake, and every interaction is kind of what inspires my work.
Yeah.
So it's like we are all here to inspire each other. We are all here to be understanding, be open minded. There are people with, everyone has story, and that's kind of very fascinating to me. It's like every person you walk, you got a story that you don't know, right? So
Mhm.
it's like, it's crazy when you think about that. For every single person you get to
Yeah.
interact has your own whole world, whole like universe inside of them.
Yeah.
So it's like being aware of that and just being yeah, being understanding, and especially as an artist, I think having that awareness is very important.
For sure. So where can people find repeat where people can find your art gallery? Where can they follow you? If can people buy your art, and if so, where can they do that?
Yeah. So as it now, I have pieces with Ghost Gallery here in downtown. People can come to the studio in um oh, I forgot the address, but uh, of it's
We'll
in
we'll we'll
downtown.
post it on
Yeah,
the
spot.
bio.
Yeah, the theater restore. Like you can come to the studio and you can see me work, and I would love to have you and chat about my work. You can also find my work through my Instagram, Nahom, my first name underscore artsy. And also you can purchase my work on my website, which is nahomart.org. And yeah,
Hell yeah. This has been the NAST podcast with,
Nahom. Yeah,
and
thank you.
we did it.